Dysart, and I do business development for the Crawford team here at VIP Mortgage. We are a power partner here, and I actually office out of this office. I'm here at least 3 days a week, and I'm in our corporate office the other 2. But I feel like I've been here almost every day lately, which is great. Today, we are going to talk about marketing to millennials. And before I do that, I want to kind of open up some dialogue here on why you guys think that this is relevant.
There are a lot of them.
There are, yes. Why else?
They have money.
True.
Now.
Yeah, you're right. Why else?
Yeah, buy you now.
Yep. Anyone else? We're going to talk about all the reasons. I just wanted to see what you guys already knew.
You like to text.
You do like to text, yes.
You don't like to answer the phone.
I think they're smarter than we give them credit.
Absolutely. What else?
They do a lot of research online before they even get back to you.
Absolutely. Well, that's a really great start. And how old are millennials, would you say?
30?
Okay.
20, 25, 35.
Oh, younger than 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Younger than 40 usually.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So you guys have some good info. Well, we will get started, and I'll tell you guys about all these things, but this was a fun little infographic that I found. I can send you guys this. It has some good stats on there, but it says that there are 80 million in the U.S. I found that to be a little high. I'll show you the number that I did doing some more research that I found. But, my clicker will turn on. Who are the millennials? Let's talk about who they are first. 1981 to 1996 is what I found as the most common answer. If you research it online, there are literally 10 different definitions and age ranges of who actually are millennials. The issue is that a lot of other previous generations in history, the generation was defined by a major historical event, right? It was if you're born before this historical event, you're in this generation, or after this historical event, you're in this generation. With millennials, there really wasn't anything like that. It's defined by about this time frame. So that would put people ages 22 to 39. And most people don't believe that 39-year-olds, they don't think of them as millennials. I'm on the high end. I'm 35. I'm a millennial. But when I first started researching, I was like, oh no, I'm not a millennial. Those are the younger kids, right? But it's true. That is the demographic of millennials. And what happened in that time frame? If you think of people that are those ages, what did they grow up with?
The onslaught of the internet.
Technology, absolutely. The internet, gaming, absolutely. So I started on a computer in 3rd grade in elementary school. It was part of our curriculum all the time.
Oh, keyboarding.
Cell phones were around when I was a kid. You know, everybody had them. It became easier and easier to communicate with each other. So that was the foundation, really, of millennials. Another thing about millennials that's very interesting is they're the most diverse group ever in history of any generation. 46% identify as minorities, which is awesome, right? It's actually celebrated now. Diversity is celebrated in our country, which is amazing. For a lot of years, people didn't want to be considered a minority. They were kind of afraid to mark themselves as a minority, and now people are proud of it, so it's awesome. Millennials are a very diverse group. Now, this is a stat that was shocking. By 2030, 75% of our American workforce is going to be millennials. That one blew me away. So, who is buying houses? And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's obviously going to continue to be millennials going forward. The stat that I found more common is there are currently 70 millennials in the United States. However, a chunk of these people are turning 40 this year and are going to age out of the millennial demographic. But there are a ton of new ones coming in and people that are now getting to home buying age, which we'll talk about in a minute too. This generation has $200 billion in purchasing power. So we're going to talk about some stereotypes and myths with millennials as we go, but that stat was shocking to me. That's a B, not an M, billion. So there is. They do have money, and they are wanting to spend it. And as someone else mentioned, they are digitally savvy quality seekers. So they spend tons of time researching online, and quality is very important to them. So we'll talk about that as well. Some millennial stereotypes that I want to hit right on the head here before we get started. are these. So this was an actual cover of Time magazine. It says the me generation. Millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. And then the next section is why they'll save us all. But millennials hate this. They hated these stereotypes that were out there. And the reality is that may have been true 10 years ago when the millennials were younger, but now the millennials have grown up, and that's not true at all. So saying that these stereotypes still exist is very frustrating for people in this demographic. The reality is, the me generation is what was kind of the stigma out there. The reality is a lot of them are very hardworking professionals, almost all of them. The difference is they have a different view of what success in their career looks like, and we'll talk about that in a minute. They don't take the traditional path that previous generations have taken. The second stereotype is that they're lazy. The reality is that's not true at all. They just have different priorities than previous generations, and we're going to talk about what those are. And the third one, that they live with their parents, that's not true either. The reality is that 42% own a home or live in a home that is owned with another roommate who owns it, versus 16% that still live at home with their parents. So the vast minority of the group is actually living at home. And this one blew my mind. Everyone says people are waiting longer to buy houses. That's not true if you look statistically. The median home buying age has not changed from 1970 to now. Is that shocking to anybody else? Because has everybody heard that? People are waiting longer to buy houses. People are waiting longer.
That was 5 or 10 years ago that they were doing that.
Yes, but it hasn't changed. It stayed at the average. What do you guys think it is?
29.
Median home buying age.
29.
Okay. What else? Any other guesses?
27.
So in 1970, it was 30.4, and now, when the study was done, it was 31. So yeah, right around that 30, 31-year-old range. So I think the difference is that there wasn't a lot of them at that point. More are turning home buying age now, so we're going to look at that in a
Well,
minute.
it was a short time because of the crash and everything and what happened to mom and dad. They were holding back
We're going to
because
talk
they
about
thought
that.
it would happen again right as soon as they bought a home, and they've been proved wrong.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're going to talk about that too. That there's some fear that goes along with that as well. Okay, so now why do you guys care about millennials? Let's talk about millennial home buyers. They were the largest segment of buyers in the United States last year at 37%, according to the National Association of Realtors. So more than 1 out of every 3 home purchases in the United States was by a millennial. It's crazy, right? I was shocked to hear that and also kind of excited. But even more so, on my side, I'm in the mortgage business. Millennials represented around 48% of all purchase loans last year. So they're less likely to pay cash and not need a mortgage, right? And are expected to pass 50% of all purchase loans this year. So pretty awesome. And that also shows what? If they're 50% of all purchase loans, what does that show about their ability to qualify?
It's back in play.
It's back in play. So for a long time, it was that people couldn't qualify. Millennials don't have credit scores. Millennials don't have savings, right? But that's absolutely not true. Even with the stricter lending guidelines we have in place now from what we did around the crash time, millennials are qualifying and buying at a really high rate. There has been a big change, though, in what millennials are buying. So the stereotype before was that they want to live in like trendy condo complexes, right? That's what they want. Lock and leave. There's been a huge shift last year to interest in like a suburban downtown, which means close to downtown, not necessarily in downtown, but nearby on public transit or an Uber ride away. But they want a more suburban feel now. Neighborhoods, backyards, outdoor space. That was a huge trend last year in what they're buying. And they also are considered the pickiest generation. Why do you think that is?
HGTV.
HGTV craze.
No, it's.
You're
hands
exactly
down.
right. We are the reality TV generation, and that is super true. So they see all these things on TV, and they see these unrealistic, like, oh, this costs that much. No, it doesn't. They got all those materials for free. That's not really what that remodel costs, you know? But they think, okay, well, I can have the same thing. Why can't I have a picture-perfect home for that price, too? And it is true. The difference also is in previous generations, people bought homes to stay there for a long time. So they were okay with buying fixer-uppers because they knew they were going to invest in their property and redo the kitchen and redo the flooring over the time that they're there. Millennials are not buying for that reason. The majority of millennials right now, they're looking at a place they're going to be in for 5 to 7 years, a lot of them. And they're looking at it as an investment more so than a long-term housing place for them.
Are they seeing it as a stepstone at all yet? Because that's,
yes.
early on it was La Vida Loca, I'm not going to buy a house, I'm going to rent. Then it was little
Absolutely.
Kishu condo. Now it's, we're growing up, maybe we should have a place where we can live.
Yeah.
With our family.
Absolutely stepping stone for sure. So the older millennial demographic, which I would say is 35 to 39, are on multiple properties usually, investment opportunities, especially with the way our market's been the past couple of years. So yes, absolutely.
So they'll sell this and buy the good one later.
Yes, get our equity. They're looking at it as an investment opportunity, whereas for a long time, housing wasn't really thought of as an investing opportunity with a lot of generations. It was just thought of as a need, place I'm going to live and raise my family for 25 years. It's now, there's been a change in mindset with that. But here's the reasons, top 5 reasons for millennial buyers to move. Number 1, to establish own household. So if the average age is 31, what's happening around that time frame in most people's lives?
They get married.
Getting married, starting to think about a family. So that's the main reason why people are now wanting especially more suburban homes rather than those kind of lofty type spaces. Number 2, need larger unit. Number 3 is want to own. Number 4, new job or job transfer. Number 5, live in a higher quality unit. And the top 5 reasons that they choose a home, number 1 is financial reasons. So what they can afford and what investment potential they see in the property is the number 1 reason. Number 2 is like the size. Number 3 is layout and design. Number 4 is like the neighborhood. And number 5 is construction quality. So that's almost opposite of what it was in previous generations, where the number 1 thing is they want a very good, well-made house, right? It's not that way anymore. So mindset has shifted a little bit with that. And with that, I wanted to point this out. The top pie chart of millennials, 75% of those that are buying are first-time buyers, but 25%, that talked about the older millennials, are repeat buyers. So I just purchased my 3rd home, and I'm 35. So I bought my first one when I was 22. And I found that most people in the older demographic of millennials were that way. They bought houses early and they're on their 3rd, 4th, 5th at this point in time. And then there's the younger demographic, which is my sister, who's never owned a house and rented always for a long time. There's kind of a break in the 20-somethings versus the 30-somethings I found. But some even more shocking stats that are very important to point out. NAR reported last year in home buyer and seller generational trends that 81% of older millennials, so that's 32 to 39, found their home through a mobile app. Pretty crazy, huh? So what is that? Where do you guys need to be or have?
Online.
You need to have a mobile app. If you don't, I'll tell you about it at the end, but partners have them. We have one that we offer for free to our realtor partners. It's branded to you. But the idea behind having a co-branded mobile app or something like that is to get your buyers off Zillow and have them search on something where they have access to all the same information that is branded to you. So if you don't have a solution like that, get one. A little story with this. So I had multiple homes. I went through a divorce about almost 3 years ago and rented for a while because I wasn't ready to buy yet. I had been on a portal for almost 3 years, looking at the market, knew exactly. I had cash to buy. I was qualified to buy. And I just bought a house in December that I found on Zillow. And I've been in a portal this whole time. That's a true story. I'm in the industry. I'm very well connected and knowledgeable, but it's easy. And what happened was on my portal, I had it set up to a certain price. And this house was a bit over that. And one day I was driving around. I had an hour to kill before a meeting, and I hit open houses near me on a Saturday. 5 bedrooms. First one that popped up, went there, fell in love, bought the house. So that's kind of research, right, on their own, oftentimes before they want an agent. I didn't need an agent, obviously, but had I still would have found my house on Zillow without an agent. So that's where we need to keep in mind, this is their mentality. They're searching online. They want easy access to all the information that you have, so you have to find a solution to give it to them. That's the one that I thought was shocking. The next one that I thought was shocking is New York Post just did an article saying that 25% of millennials say they've saved over $100,000. So this stat that millennials are broke, they don't have down payments, is not true. A lot of people have saved quite a bit of money. And those that don't have the savings, there's obviously DPA options and things like that for them. This one is great too. Millennials are expected to form 20 million new households by 2025. Think of that as for the buyers. And in our state, I'm sure we'll see a huge percentage as well. But this is why you guys should care about millennials, what they value, how to communicate with them, and how to market to them. That's what we're going to talk about today. A couple more myths that I wanted to point out. So the myth, all millennials want tiny hip apartments near Avocado Toast Central. And as we said, that's not true. They want 1,800 square foot single family homes just as much. And we're seeing a lot of that in our marketplace. If it's not walkable, millennials won't look at it. Not true. Millennials are driving their kids to school, daycare, and good elementary schools. So schools and housing and neighborhoods are important to millennials as well. Millennials are drowned in student debt and can't afford housing. Not true. As I pointed out, down payments are larger than ever. We're seeing larger down payments from millennials than a lot of previous generations because they have saved. And this is a stat that I've been hearing a lot, which is true. Millennials want a recession to hit hard so that home prices come down to earth. Have you guys heard that? Millennials are like wanting to wait for a recession.
All ages are saying that.
It's not true though. Millennials feel the same way about the next recession as any other generation. They welcome a correction, but they're scared about what's going to happen to our economy.
Oh yeah, they want it both ways.
So like me, my generation, we do not want a recession, especially those of us that are in this industry. That's the last thing we want. So we're concerned about home prices and values just as much as previous generations. So we're going to talk about some important things today. What do millennials value? How do they communicate? What do they expect from their experience? And what are their barriers to success in home buying? So first thing, what do they value? I have like 5 slides on this coming up, so we're not going to go into that one right now. But how do they like to communicate? Somebody touched on this already. Texting, the #1 preferred method of communication for millennials. They want you to text them. So use text to even initially make contact the first time. I would encourage, like for open house visits, cold leads, videos. Text a video of yourself to millennials. They will receive it, they will watch it, they will appreciate it. #2 preferred method of communication is social media. So direct messaging on social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook are the #2 way they want you to get in touch with them. So if you don't use those channels to communicate, I would encourage you to do so. I know I have bought tons of things off of Instagram, direct messaging. I know that sounds crazy to some of you, but literally I don't ever see the product, touch the product, buy it online, have it sent to my house. It's all about quickness and service. So less emails next. That's their 3rd preferred method of communication. However, if any email is overly salesy, they won't read it. So your emails have to be educational and informative or some sort of entertaining content versus selling at all. The #4 preferred method of communication is phone calls. And I feel like that is 100% true. I know I do not like to talk on the phone unless I absolutely have to. If it's something lengthy that I need to explain to somebody, I will definitely talk on the phone, but if it can be done in text, I will try to do it in text. Are you the same? Oh, sorry, I was pointing to Shannon behind you. Yeah? I would say that's definitely true.
That begs a question. If I'm trying to find out everything you want in a home so that I can find it for you.
Send them a PDF fillable home buyer questionnaire.
Okay.
Give them a digital option that they can click, fill out on their phone and send back to you. That's what we do with a lot of our clients. It works really well. A lot of my agent partners use one as well that works great. So digital fillable forms are the best thing to do for that. Also, have text campaigns set up for yourself so that nurturing throughout the home buying process should be done via text message. It will help warm up leads and cultivate buyers. Also with how they communicate, flexibility and mobility are key. The majority of things that I do are on my cell phone, as are a lot of other millennials. So you have to make sure that it's mobile friendly, mobile responsive, easy access for them to use, and that they can do it on the go. Less millennials work in a desk job than any other generation. A lot of them work at coffee shops or from their house or on the go, or they travel, or they're self-employed where they're more transient and they're not sitting down with a desk and a printer and a scanner like previous generations were every day. So you have to make sure you're giving them those options. What do they expect from their experience? Number one, respect. I think the millennials feel, especially in older generations, that they have not been treated with respect, especially in the home buying process. I am worthy, I have saved this money and I can buy a house, you know? That's the mindset. So they want to be treated as such. Number two, timely service. They expect answers instantaneously because that is the way that they were raised with technology. Everything now, they can click a button and get Uber, they can click a button and get food, they can click a button and get groceries delivered, they can go to Amazon and have something on their doorstep by 10 p.m. And they use all of those services daily. So they expect timely service from you guys as well. With that, if you know you're going to be unavailable, tell them. They'll be understanding. You just have to give them proper expectations. So what I encourage you to do is set up auto replies on your texts if you're not able to get back to people, that you're in a showing appointment and you'll return them after 4 p.m. or whatever time. Same thing on your email. Set up auto replies that you return emails between this time and this time. They're okay with waiting if they're expecting to wait, but not if they just think you're leaving them hanging for 6 hours. So set up those auto replies to give them the proper expectations. And number three is they expect an experience more so than previous generations. What do you think I mean by that?
Like HGTV.
Well,
So-
it's basically that you know what you're doing and come across as knowledgeable.
Well, that, but also that they're celebrated throughout the process, right? They want the whole like big exciting moments throughout the transaction like they've seen on TV, right?
What
So-
we've noticed is entertainment.
Absolutely.
So the commercials you see, they seem stupid, but they're meant to entertain your age group.
Exactly right.
That's who they're targeting.
You're exactly right. So throughout the process, as much as you can, celebrate them. Instead of meeting at a Starbucks, meet at a cool brewery for a buying appointment. And for their closing, give them something fun instead of a gift card that's meaningful or cutesy that they'll appreciate. Celebrate them throughout the process. They expect an experience with it. And what are their barriers to success with home buying or home selling? Distrust of the norm. And we're going to get into that in a minute, but that's very true with the millennial demographic. So in regards to what do they value, this was very interesting to me. They value experiences over possessions, number one. So 2 out of 5 have traveled abroad in the last 3 years. In our parents' and grandparents' generation, do you think that they had traveled abroad in their 20s in the last 3 years? Nobody had. So millennials are more likely to spend $3,000 to go abroad on a trip than they are to buy a nice piece of furniture. And in previous generations, it was, do you want nice things? You save money to have nice things and a nice home. Millennials, it's not as important. 81% have less than $50,000 in student loans. We hear that a lot too. All millennials have student loans, so they can't qualify for loans. That's not true. Less than $50,000 in student loans has zero impact on the ability to buy a home. So that does not affect them. 90% own a smartphone and spend an average of 35 hours per week on social media. 7 hours a day.
But they won't talk to you on the phone.
So if they're spending 7 hours a day on social media, what do you think you need to do? Talk to them where they are on social media. And when I'm like, there's no way that could be true, but it is true. There are lots of people who scroll all day, every day, and are addicted to it, which is crazy.
Would that include messaging them through
Yes.
Facebook versus the other media?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you know which social media platforms?
We're
they
getting
use?
to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a stat on that coming up. So, relationship. 84% of millennials will rely on referrals to make purchasing decisions. It's the whole, like, I want to do the things my friends are doing. So if you can get in with a group of millennials, you are going to get referred to their friends if you do a good job. 90% of young renters report a desire to own someday, which is great for us. They want to buy. It's not just that they want to rent forever. They do have a desire to buy. 38% of millennials said they would postpone a wedding to put a down payment on a house.
They
It's
aren't
true.
getting married anymore.
It's true. A lot of people would rather do that. I thought that was crazy, but I believe it. It's true. 87% of millennial homeowners said that they thought their home was a good investment. So again, they're looking at it from that perspective rather than a long-term hold. And 62% of millennials said they prefer to live in a city center than a suburb, but again, that has changed over the last year. We've seen more and more going to suburban areas. Additional values. This is so true. So these are the older generations and the words that they value. Number 1, justice. Number 2, integrity. Number 3, family. Number 4, practicality. And number 5, duty. Those were the words that the baby boomers and Gen X, those were the words that really hit home with them. We saw a lot of those in marketing. They marketed these picture perfect families and being practical and duty to your country, duty to your kids, all these things. Values that are stronger for millennials. Number 1, happiness. Number 2, passion. Number 3, diversity. Number 4, sharing or collaboration. Number 5, discovery. Pretty different, right? So if you're speaking and you're using terms in your marketing like buy a house, it's such a practical decision, long-term, makes the most long-term sense. Do you think that's going to resonate with them?
No.
What about let's find you a home that you're going to be happiest in? That's a better way to market, right? So we need to look at these words and start incorporating them in our marketing messages to these people and how we speak and the questions that we ask. Happiness, passion, diversity, sharing, and discovery. So those are words I think that we all need to pay attention to. Now, this one, also, millennials are now the largest segment of pet owners in the country. 37%, I'm sorry, I made that up. 7 in 10 millennials own a pet. I was going to say, 37% of all pet owners are millennials, I think. But 7 in 10 millennials own a pet. Why does that matter for home buying?
Because they're the ones they're buying the house for.
Exactly right. So, when you ask them why they want to look at houses with outdoor space, it's for their dog. It's for their dog. So I don't have to come and let my dog out twice a day, right? That's really important to them. 67% look at their pet as part of their family. So just as you would in generations with people with children, ask what they're looking for their children, what schools, ask what they're looking for their pets. I know it sounds silly, but that's what they value. So ask them about it. And 80% of renters with dogs will buy a home within 2 years because they get so sick of going downstairs 3 flights of stairs at 6 in the morning to take their dog to the bathroom.
Or not finding a place they can rent.
Yeah, so market to renters with dogs. That's a great segment of people to buy. It's an easy conversion generally. So that I thought was important in them as well. So the whole laziness thing is a big stigma, but it's just not true. But this is what's true. So in 1968, 56% of 18 to 31-year-olds were married and living in their own household. 2012, so this is old, so it might even be less. 23% of 18 to 31-year-olds were married and living in their own household. So that is a pretty significant difference, right? So the percentage of young people married and living on their own has dropped by more than 50% since the 1960s.
And the percentage of divorces are down too.
It's true.
That 44%, about half of those were divorced.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
already
The percentage
living in their
of
own home.
is down. You're right. But before, in previous generations, we were taught this little jingle. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby in the baby carriage. Everyone know that one? That's not the way millennials think. That's not what's programmed into our head. I wrote, first comes travel and finding myself and exploring my passions. And then if I find somebody that fits in with that, maybe we'll, start a relationship and settle down, and then maybe we'll think about buying a house if we make sure we're happy together. It's a very different mentality now. So it's not that they're lazy, it's just that they do things in a different order. So their priorities are very different. And we have to keep that in mind in how we talk to them and how we market to them. Now we're going to talk about why, some of the psychology behind these things with millennials. The main reason is there's a major distrust in corporate America and in our financial system. Why do you think that is?
Because it crashed.
How old were we when it crashed?
It's crashed 3 times in the last 20 years, so.
So the majority of millennials saw their parents, right before retirement age, lose everything. A lot of people in the housing industry and in the stock market. I know I will never forget. My best friend's parents, who were my second parents, had built in Aviano, which is Desert Ridge area, when it first, built, right? They put about $800,000 cash into that house. They put in this insane backyard, all these amazing upgrades. That was a lot of their retirement into this home. Because values were going up, they were going to be there forever, right? And so they had about just over $1 million into the house. It appraised for, I think, 1.2 at the peak, and they short sold it for 400.
Oh my gosh.
So they literally lost $800,000 of their life savings for retirement in this house and had to move into a tiny little apartment at 60 years old. And we're 22, and this is happening to our parents. It's a really hard thing to watch your loved ones go through. So that really affected a lot of millennials. And if you ask all of them, there's a story like that. And same thing with the stock market for most people. Anybody who is well invested knows somebody who lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the stock market. So they don't trust it as much. Now they have seen it grow, right? So now, especially in our market here, people are making a lot of money in the housing market again. So I think that stigma has changed a little bit with how much appreciation we've had. Phoenix Metro had 10% appreciation last year. Average appreciation over all the zip codes was 10%. So a lot of money. Even on a $100,000 house, that's 10 grand. On a $500,000 house, that's a lot of money. So they're paying attention to that now. As I mentioned, 82% of millennials invest regularly in their financial goals, so they do have a long-term strategy for their financial plan. They are very socially and environmentally conscious. Do you guys agree with that? Any examples of how you've noticed that, especially with homes or anything?
You're seeing more zero-escaping. You're also seeing more where they're bringing their own bags. And
Yep.
I've been bringing my own coffee cup to the coffee shop forever, and we're starting to see more of that.
Absolutely. They carry metal straws in their purses, right?
Yeah.
They're all about recycling. There's a lot of environmental conscious stuff going on. The whole, turtle plastic thing was a huge issue with millennials. But socially conscious, what do I mean by that?
They're the Yelp generation.
Diversity.
More so, what else? They really care about what other people think of them and their peer group, more so than ever. So you see, that's why you saw a lot of millennials driving a Mercedes and living in an apartment. So I have a nanny, she's 23, she's incredible. But we always joke, because in her complex, it's almost all young millennials, there's Teslas, Maseratis, Rolls Royces, all these people that are living in $1,200 a month rental apartments. But it's because they want to appear like they have this awesome lifestyle, right? So when they do buy a home, that's why they want a home that they're proud to take their friends to that looks like HGTV. They're very, very socially conscious, more so than other generations. So that's a very important thing as well. But they're not as income driven as previous generations. And I know those usually don't go together, but they're not. They value experiences over possessions. And that's another reason why I put corporate America up here, which I didn't really talk about, so I'll go back to that. But that's another reason why they don't take traditional jobs with big companies and work up the ladder and plan to be there till retirement, because it doesn't allow them the freedom and flexibility that they want to travel and explore and go snowboarding this Friday and do pick up and go, They value those experiences more than they value a stable job that will give them the income that they want, a lot of them.
Connect them to quality versus convenience.
Yes, and it's true. There's more self-employed people in the millennial demographic than in any other demographic in history. So they're creating areas and avenues of wealth for themselves through non-traditional means. And you'll see a lot of them that even if maybe they do have, I know, I mean, my nanny's a perfect example. She's 23, graduated magna cum laude from Bowling Green, very, very bright, could get any job she wanted. She was a political science major, worked in politics, and she nannies for me because her number one thing she wanted at this point in her life was freedom, able to take time off, non-stressful job so she could travel. That was like her number one thing that she wants for the next 2 years. So it's just different. It's different value systems. And I think we're seeing more and more of that. People that are driving Uber and working as a yoga teacher part-time. They're still making a good income. They're just doing it in different ways than other generations have. Yes.
One of the things I found was that they will trade income for a title.
True.
So if
You're
I say
absolutely
you're
right.
the director of something, but I'm going to pay you half of what a director really would get, you'll be okay with that because you have the title. Again, it's all about what others think.
You're exactly right. It's very true. And that's why a lot of companies have replaced, we see it a lot in like marketing and PR, all of their older firms that they've been paying so much money for, they're finding a young millennial to come in and do the job for half the money and that's doing a way better job, to be honest, because they're more social media savvy. So yes, you're exactly right.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Do you think that's more like younger millennials? Because I'm an older millennial. That's not what I think. I would rather have money.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably, but not the majority.
You're in my demographic and you're exactly right. So the younger millennials, I'd say those, I really do the break at like 32. 32 plus generally are the ones who now are ready to start making money, settle down, establish wealth, right? 32 and under, 32 to 22 about, they aren't really ready for that yet. So they're okay taking a lesser pay for either a better lifestyle or a better title.
Perhaps I should be more blunt. I see a lot of millennials and very, very old people going for big flippers like Open Door, OfferPad, blah, 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 Redfin, whatever, because it's convenient. We'll go that way and sacrifice huge amounts of money versus using somebody of quality like those people in this room.
Yeah.
So how do you
I don't think so.
get
Yeah, I disagree with that actually. So millennials are less likely to use those iBuyer services.
Really?
Yes, because they do the research and know exactly how much everything is worth, where previous generations don't have the kind of the savviness to go online and find the numbers as well as millennials do. So millennials know exactly what they should pay for a house. They'll tell you most of the time.
But I mean on the sell side.
I totally disagree with that.
Yeah.
Same thing. They want every bit. Yeah, they want every bit of their equity that they put into that house. And in fact, millennials would rather, they'd ask for a discounted commission more than they'd use an selling service.
Okay.
Yeah, because they want their cash. They've worked hard, right, for that investment.
They know
want
they're
that-
going to be taken if they go with a flip.
Yes, yeah, they want that money back so that they can invest it into something else to make more money. So yes, I think that it may be a misconception.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, they're the digital age, right? So they're used to instant service and reviews. Literally, I do not go to the store for anything almost these days, unless I absolutely have to. I have Instacart that I can order things from Costco and Total Wine and Safeway and Fry's. I have Uber Eats, I have DoorDash, I have Amazon. And it's not because I'm lazy, because it's because I'm a full-time working mom with a bunch of kids and I don't have time and freedom to do all that. So I'd rather leverage technology to get a great service than, do it myself. And I think that's one thing, the instant service, we have to offer that accessibility for millennial buyers and sellers. And that's why I said setting the expectations on timeframes when you're going to get back to them is really important. Or adding like a chatbot to your website, or an artificial intelligence like Emma who responds to your texts on your behalf, just like your assistant would, that schedules appointments for you on your behalf. That's all AI. There's add-ons that you can pay for like $59 a month to have somebody do that for you. It's all through AI. They're all chatbots. So having a service like that allows you to provide that instant service, right? But leverage it and not have to actually be readily available every minute of every day. Obviously, the cabs versus Uber thing. So previous generations, it took them a while to jump on Uber train, right? Millennials were the first people to adopt it because it's so much easier. But, I think back to when I was in high school, we literally would have to wait at a payphone and keep calling, because 2525252, if anyone remembers, that was the yellow cab here in town, the number was busy. Busy, keep calling, and wait and get a cab. Like things like that, we have to think about that for our service level too. If you're providing this wait service, they're gonna hop and go somewhere else quickly. So Uber obviously has taken over, and 57% of millennials compare prices in the store with online sources and reviews. Meaning, they've done their research on the price already. They know exactly what it's worth and what it should pay. They know the comps around it, so you better know it too. And kind of the Amazon mindset, right? I do that. If I'm at Costco and I see a product, I go to Amazon to check the reviews, see if it's good, and check the price to see if it's better at Costco. And we're willing to take that extra step to get a better deal. So I think in the housing industry, we have to pay attention to that. We have to provide really good data to them, or at least be able to find it when they ask and tell them we'll get back to them. All right, so now we're going to talk about how to reach millennials through marketing. And there's some fun things in here that I'll show you guys, but I do want to say this isn't going to work for everyone, and that's okay. If some of these things aren't going to work for you, don't do them. You're still going to get business, right? There's lots of ways to get business in this industry, and we can all be different, but this is really what is attracting millennials right now. Number one, make sure your brand is Instagram worthy. And by the way, we're going to talk about all these in further detail. Number two, let your audience be your star. Number three, optimize content for social and mobile. Number four, focus on word of mouth and leverage testimonials. Number five, give them an instant response and be accessible. Number six, use video. Number seven, start the conversation through social channels. And number eight, celebrate closings. So we're going to talk about these things a little bit on each of them, but these are really what's winning in marketing right now, especially with the millennial demographic. So 92% own smartphones, 69% read product reviews on mobile, 47% use social media during the shopping journey, and 29% have responded to location-based offers. So we know that those things I said were true. So as I talked about, reaching them on social media, and somebody asked for these stats, the percentage of millennials using Facebook daily is 77%. So 77% of millennials are still using Facebook daily. That's the number one platform, according to this study. That was shocking to me because I thought it would be Instagram, but I think it's the break in the younger millennials versus the older millennials. The older millennials are still on Facebook and using it actively. And Facebook, I guess we'll see what happens with it going forward. But until now, Facebook has been a better platform for business. So older millennials that are established in business use Facebook more. I think we'll see that shift again. But Instagram's catching up. 70% of millennials use Instagram daily. And again, on the younger millennial side, that's where it's really heavy. It's like 95% of young millennials use Instagram daily. 66% use YouTube, 54% Twitter, 47% Snapchat, 41% Reddit, 38% Pinterest, and 28% TikTok.
Liz, when was this? When
Recent.
was this done?
Just came out at the end of December.
Because I would think TikTok would be higher.
I think eventually you're
It's
gonna
the younger
really
demographic versus older. So the older millennials, like the 32 to 39, aren't on TikTok yet.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if some of us don't know what TikTok is.
That's what
Yeah.
I was going to say. So a lot of people are like, what's TikTok?
Yeah, do you guys all know what it is?
My 8-year-old has it.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I think it's the younger millennials really. I think we'll see the older millennials catch up and jump on TikTok. I don't know that we'll really use it for home buying, so I don't know. I really don't see how it's going to translate yet. I may be wrong, but I don't really see it.
Like links in your Facebook and Instagram to TikTok or something like that.
I guess you could, but those platforms don't want you to leave Facebook or Instagram, so they discourage outside links. Actually, like the algorithms don't promote them, so those posts won't be shown. So, I mean, it'll be interesting though. So, this was the order. Surprising, I thought too. I for sure thought it was going to be Instagram. But if you actually look at engagement on the platforms, which is what we really care about, right? Instagram is the most effective, 59% more effective. 18% Facebook. So if you actually want engagement back on the platforms with millennials, Instagram is the place to actually engage with them to get a response. And I would find that that's very true through DMs. The reason why is because Facebook changed where it's now Messenger. So it's a different platform. You go off of Facebook onto Messenger to communicate. And they really screwed up when they did that, in my opinion, because it's another app you have to open now on your phone. Versus Instagram, you stay on the Instagram app, you can hop back and forth from one thing to the next, all within the app, chat, go back and scroll, go to stories, chat. And I think that that's why we see a much higher engagement rate on Instagram, especially with stories. 1 in 5 stories results in a DM, is what they're saying on average now, if your content is good. And on mine, I've seen a very similar rate with that. So that's if you're using it effectively, which we'll talk about in a minute.
And for dinosaurs, a DM is a
Direct-
district manager?
Direct message. Yeah, so that means basically like it's like a text, but it's through the platform, and it doesn't alert them unless they've set up their notifications to do so. So it's a softer touch to cultivate. Yes, so direct messages on Facebook and Instagram are very effective ways to communicate with people in this demographic. And Snapchat was the lowest for engagement, which I was surprised by actually, but that's what it says. All right, so with that, if they're on it daily, that's where they're consuming the majority of their content. So we need to be optimizing our content for them to view it in those places. Most of the time it's on social media and it's on their smartphone. As I said, less of them are sitting at a desk and scrolling all day on their computers, the more of them are on their phones. So for you guys and your business, social media presence is kind of a badge of acceptance with millennials. They are going to check if you have social media. If you don't, it's okay, but I would at least be able to be found somewhere, have some sort of review site, whether it's a Google business page, a Facebook business page, actual good website, but something digital where they can verify you that you who you say you are, and that you have a brand, right? That you're reputable. So social media, though, I would encourage you to be on those platforms. I don't really think you need to be on all the platforms because I think a lot of agents waste a lot of time trying to be on every platform and they don't do any of them good enough, to be honest. So I'd rather you be on one platform and do it well than to be on 5 platforms and do none of them well, because you can direct people to that single platform. If you are going to be on multiple platforms, I would recommend Instagram #1, Facebook #2, LinkedIn #3. LinkedIn is back. I have some stats on that. I don't know if they're in
Wasn't
here.
even on your list.
I know. But it's in a different presentation I did the other day. But I'll send you guys following this, the stat on LinkedIn. The reason why on LinkedIn is because there's something like, and I'm making up the numbers, I'll send you the actual numbers, but I want to say there's like 340 unique monthly visitors to Instagram, but only 340 million, and only 40 million post content regularly. So it's much easier for your content to get seen on Instagram than it is on the other platforms. And the majority of wealthy millennials and business owners are on LinkedIn. So that's why that platform.
And it works for other demographics.
Yes, it does. Yes. But I'd say, as I said, Instagram and Facebook, I think it's important to be on both and to use them well. But we're going to talk about how you connect with people in a minute, what you should be posting. And when, most importantly too, so your ads or your posts on social media need to be good, but what's more important than that is your profile needs to be really good. If you don't have an engaging profile to stand behind your content, they're not going to look at you. I know that that's what I do first when I see a new company or brand. I immediately go to their profile, check out their page. I don't know, does anybody else do that? Mm-hmm. So your profiles need to have what in them?
Story, information about you. What do you do?
Information about you and not like #1 real estate agent in Phoenix Metro, right? They don't like that. That's selling. That's salesy. They don't want that. They want, yogi, foodie realtor who specializes in mid-century homes or some thing that's cool and fun, right? So find a different way to identify yourself besides top producing realtor, whatever it is. So in your brief bio, but more than that, what else needs to be there?
About that.
Compliance stuff, yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So if you're using any of your social media to promote anything related to your business, it has to have your business info in your profile. You can get in big trouble if you don't. So brokerage info, address, even if it'll fit depending on the profiles. There's a little more lenience with that, but you at least need to say that you are a realtor in my home group in your profiles or bios on all the platforms if you're going to mention real estate anywhere. So I just had to say that too. But what else should be in your profiles?
How to reach you.
Yes, ding ding. How to get a hold of you. So in Instagram, they allow you to put one link. That's not good enough. I would recommend using a link tree. It's linktr.ee, I believe, but if you Google link tree, it will come up. It basically allows you to put a menu of links under one link. So you go to one link and it opens up like a menu for you. You get up to 5 for free. Beyond that, if you want additional or more specific branding, there's a fee, but the free 5 is great. But you should have a link to your Instagram page, a link to your website, a link to search properties, a link to get a home evaluation, and a link to an about you. Something.
What was that?
Linktree. Linktree. And you'll see most businesses now have that in their Instagram bios because that allows people to get a lot more information about you quickly, which is great. So I would use that in your bios, but you definitely need to have ways that they can reach you. And this is very important. So with those link trees, or with even if you're only using one link to your website, if your landing page isn't responsive, you are going to lose millennials within 20 seconds. Does everyone know what I mean by that? If it's not formatted for mobile, so if it doesn't fit right, or if it scrolls weird, or you can't access buttons, you lost them already. So you have to make sure that all of your stuff that you direct people to is mobile responsive. They literally will abandon it and then not trust your brand because of your stuff if it's not mobile responsive, because that's where they're searching.
And letting them search carte blanche is a must.
Yes. Otherwise, they're going to
Unlimited
look somewhere
or
else.
a little bit, and then you've actually got to have interaction, or what do you think?
Search carte blanche. Try to message them through the platform, but allow them the availability to search. Otherwise, they're going to go on Zillow and do it.
Okay.
So if you want to keep them, allow them to search. If you have their contact information, try to warm them up through direct messages or something. But yes, carte blanche. Give them access to all the information that they want. That will hopefully keep them with you. All right, so now we're going to talk about some social media strategies. So with everything that you post, and this is new in marketing, it needs to be about people, not homes. So what do you do as a real estate agent? What's your primary job?
Homes.
Have a service.
Do homes make you money? Who makes you money?
The people.
So really, what is your job as a real estate agent?
Great relationship.
Create relationships with people who could buy or sell homes, right? But that's changed how real estate marketing is done completely in general. What we used to see 10 years ago was everything was about the homes. It was about pictures of the houses, and you'd see every Facebook post, check out my new listing, here's the front, here's the kitchen, here's the backyard, this price, this, that. That marketing does not work anymore because millennials don't care about that as much. They care about the people and the stories. So there's a book called Story Branding by either Dennis Miller or Donald Miller that came out a couple years ago, but it's the way marketing in general is moving. It's about telling people stories through marketing, and that's what gets people to connect with it, right? And you even see it on TV in advertising campaigns for pharmaceutical companies and everything. It's now about the story. You see the man and the man or woman has this problem, they take the medicine, and then they have this amazing life, and they go dancing, and they go fishing, and they go this, and then they're so happy, and you watch it, and you're like, oh, that's awesome, I want to be them, right? Like, that's the idea. So in your marketing, or in all marketing, what they've found in general is that people connect to those type of stories. If you take them through, here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the whole how it worked out, people will gravitate towards that. They want to help others, they're empathetic, they like the stories of it. So you need to tell stories and make it about people, not homes. So what you'll notice now, which I think I put in here, is instead of the same messaging, right? I just closed on this, what it used to be. Here's the house that they sold, and it was the agent, just sold this $550,000 house, boom, another one closed, right? That type of marketing does not work anymore, and in fact, it turns people off. So now what you're seeing is a picture of the buyers, right? And the agent's saying, I'm super excited that Bob and Mary closed on their home today. We had a little bit of a difficult journey getting them here with putting 7 offers in before we finally got one accepted. But now Bob and Mary found their perfect home and I'm so thrilled for them. Congrats, Bob and Mary. Tag Bob and Mary, picture of them, tag the place where you take the picture at. Those are the type of posts that you see now because it's about the people and celebrating the experience and the story of the transaction. So that's what really millennials relate to. So make it about that. Be strategic about what you post. And what I mean by that is, again, they do not care about houses. They do not care about anything salesy. They care about some market content, but if all you're doing is posting market content all the time, they're going to get bored with it. Pretty photos work, especially on Instagram. It is a platform that is more visual than any other before. So your actual news feed or wall needs to look good. So photos of event flyers or open house flyers or those things are not post worthy. They're not. You can put them in your stories because those are there and then they go away. But don't post a lot of fluff just to post it. It should be relevant content. And the way that I say is if it doesn't matter, if that post isn't going to matter or be relevant 90 days from now, it's not worth posting. Because it really should be something that has quality enough to kind of withstand time, right? So that's why a specific open house or a specific listing isn't really necessarily going to be relevant in 90 days. But the story maybe of the situation will be. It's a client that you helped. Adjust your settings, allow tags, and turn on activity broadcasts. So what's the allow tag thing about? Do you guys know why I say that?
Because they post about you too.
Exactly right. So if you post and tag them, they're going to want to post and tag about you. And what does that do to your organic growth in your audience?
That's how my referrals are going.
So explain that more for people that don't understand.
I have millennials now that are buying, and they're referring, they're tagging me, and then I'll get a direct message saying, I saw you sold, Christina's house, whatever, do you mind, blah, 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 and then it's just my referral base is my business now off of being tagged.
So what happens when they tag you or you tag them in a post, it shows to their friends as well. So depending on their privacy settings. But it will potentially open up a bigger organic audience for people to see your post that wouldn't have seen it before because of their friends. And referrals do come this way very easily. So it's very important that you have those settings turned on. What about privacy? What do you guys think? Should your profiles be private or not private?
Not private.
Some of them, the posts, sure.
Yeah, so that's a great comment. So Facebook allows you to, per post, adjust the privacy settings. Meaning some posts you can have be private and some posts you can have be public, which I would encourage you to do. There's a difference, I feel like, especially if you're representing your business on a personal social media page. There are certain things that shouldn't be shared with the world. If this is for your business, your bikini photos shouldn't be out there for the world to see. This is your bit. That's not a professional thing to do. So, I think that's where we have to keep in mind. Personal is great, but private and business don't really go together, I think. But with actual profiles on Instagram, I would encourage you to not have a personal profile, but a business profile. What that does is it allows you to have all the analytics of your audience, who they are, male or woman, what age, and when they're on the platform. So that way you know when their eyeballs are there, those are the best times for you to post. The analytics from it are awesome. It also allows you to have contact us button and put links in your stories that help with referrals as well. So on Instagram, I encourage you to have a business profile. On Facebook, it's really up to, I think, personal. The business pages are dying, so I think you need to have a personal one, but be cautious about what you're posting, and then adjust the visibility per post depending on who it's appropriate for, right? But those are important. Another thing that really connects with millennials is be seen at local hotspots. So they love to know new restaurants in town, new coffee shops, new bars, new fun things to do. They love trendy photo backdrop walls, cool things that are pretty, right? So it doesn't always need to be pictures of you at the places, but if you're at somewhere and has a really cool tile wall, take a picture of it and put it in your story and say, you know, just ate at this awesome new coffee shop, tag the place, and that, why would we want to, that's called geotagging. Why would we want to do that, do we think?
Shows you're in
Capture
there.
the people around you.
So yes,
Shows on there.
both of those, but yes. So hopefully that business will then repost your thing, which opens it up to their entire audience as well. That's the goal behind geotagging, to gain additional organic followers through the places that you tag yourself at. So geotagging is really great for that. And people, they love to know, appeal to FOMO. So millennials have this thing that like they want to go to all the cool spots. If their friends are there, they want to check it out to say that they've gone there too. So appeal to that, and you know, show that you've been to places. When you're meeting them for the first time, meet them at a cool spot. Do some research and figure out what's a cool spot around there. Connect with other influencers and other millennials on social media. So proactively reach out to them, friend request them, ask questions. Hey, you know, saw that you're really into restaurants in Central Phoenix. What would be one that you think I should try? Ask them a question. They're going to respond to you. So there's great ways to open up dialogue with people. You just have to do it in a way that's authentic and not about real estate initially. This one is a really great post that I love. So this is an agent who tagged a lender and then also geotagged the place that they were at. But it's a cool trendy spot. It's hard to see in the photo, but there's a cool brick wall, there's cool chandeliers, a big long Thanksgiving style table. And it says another packed www.beersandhomebuying.com. So we tagged the link for the event. Class for Seattle, hashtag Amazon, hashtag Facebook, and hashtag Google employees. 29 first-time home buyers are feasting on valuable info, food, wine, and great Italian food. I think, hey, I think we're doing something right over here. And then he goes, hey, I want to be your mortgage lender, with some emojis. So that is an amazing post. It tags people, it tags companies, it tags places, it appeals to millennials, like, I want to go there, I want to do beers and home buying, that sounds fun. But think of that. Would you rather call up a millennial and say, hey, I'd love to sit down and have a buyer consultation with you? Or would you say, hey, I'm doing a great beers and home buying event. Would you like to come, check it out? What do you think they're more likely to do? Right? And I'm not saying you have to put on all these cool events, but you can do the same thing on a smaller scale. You can say, hey, I'd love to buy your beer and talk about the home buying process. Let's meet at this cool brewery. So it's the same, it doesn't have to be on a big scale, but you can do the same thing on a smaller scale, if it makes sense.
So two things. So in there, they just tag Facebook and Amazon because...
It was for their employees. So it's in Seattle where they have...
So if they had one person...
Correct.
Okay.
But hashtag Facebook, how many people do you see that?
That's exactly what I was asking.
Yeah.
So secondly, my understanding of Instagram, and I could be missing it, is that it deletes the posts. Like they don't last.
Stories?
Yeah. See, I don't understand the difference. You said wall.
Okay.
So when I just opened up my Instagram, I'm like, where the fuck
Okay,
is the
so
wall?
who else is unfamiliar with how Instagram works? Just to know how
Well,
much
I
time
guess
we're
I
spending.
am.
Okay, so I'm gonna run out of time here, but I'll show you very quickly. So Instagram, when you open it,
Yeah.
my home group is the first one that popped up on mine, interestingly enough. That was not planned. So posts are the things that you scroll that have all the verbiage below it. Some of them are super long, right? That you have to read. Stories are these little bubbles at the top.
So which one
Stories,
stays? Which
Posts.
is your wall? That
wall is on you. You hit the little person button. Your posts stay on your wall. So if you go to mine, it's very colorful and it's all about family. Mostly mine's private. I have a business page that I used for business. But it should be visually appealing. Color, bright photos, good pictures.
And that's no different than Facebook though, right? I mean, the stories go away in Facebook.
Correct.
And then we have our
So
wall.
stories last 24 hours, and you can
Well, it
see
is.
the engagement on stories. So that's why they're so powerful, is you can actually see how many people are viewing your stories, You can see how long if they're skipping stories, if you have multiple story tabs open at a time. But stories were, last year, the #1 used feature. People spent more time on stories than on reading posts. I know I for sure do. Rather than having to go through my wall and scroll to find what I want and read content to figure out what is the photo about, right? You have to read the caption. In stories, you can really quickly and easily click one, and then, okay, oh, awesome, that's fun. Okay, now I'm done with that one. Oh, that's an ad. Okay, that one, swipe to the next one. Okay, so I can just click through and see what all my friends are up to. Someone's at a winery. Someone is touring houses. Here's a Zillow thing.
Plus, you can make them more
Here's
fun.
gifts. Yeah.
Isn't that similar to TikTok? Almost on the same page?
Similar. Yeah, it is.
Eventually.
But with stories, you can see it's very easy to people reply, but you can tag links. You can do to tag a bunch of people. You can do questions. I'm trying to find a good one. Bryce and Stephanie usually have good ones. With polls work really well, but things that encourage engagement, like she tagged the business, she put a filter on herself, she tagged people, she's talking about her growing baby bump, it's video, it's friendly, it's much more interactive than posts are. People stay engaged with those much longer than they do posts. So does that answer your question, basically, stories versus posts?
It does now, because I kept hitting the stupid little house.
Oh yeah, no.
I didn't know I had to be the people.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
See how it's just really messed up. Like your brain doesn't think that way automatically.
So stories I would use for content that is fun and kind of fluff content. You can use it to advertise listings. You can do home buyer tours, or ones that I've seen be really effective lately. So if you're taking a buyer out and showing them 5 houses, in your story do house 1, here's a picture, house 2, here's a picture of the kitchen, house 3, here's the backyard, house 4, and then do a poll at the end. Which one was your favorite? You know, that's a great way to incorporate real estate, right? Without talking about real estate into your stories, but those pictures on their own wouldn't be worthy for a post. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So stories encourage a lot more engagement. Ask questions, do polls, do quizzes, geotag, tag people, and you can put music in them. You can do stickers. There's all sorts of fun things that for you to do that is way more interactive.
How's the feedback better on stories versus posts?
Significantly better. So I get a 4 times better response to my stories than my posts.
Because more people are hitting them, but you're getting the same data either way, yes, no?
No, you don't get to see how many people saw your posts, only how many people like and comment your posts.
Okay.
Yes. So I traditionally get 4 times engagement on stories than I do on people liking my posts. So that's, I think, pretty common for most people now.
So you can see real stalkers. basically.
Correct. Yes, you can. Now, so it doesn't matter how much you're posting, like I talked about it, if you're not getting engagement. Engagement is really the goal on social media. This stat was amazing. Forbes reported that 62% of millennials surveyed said that they were more likely to become a customer if a company engaged with them on social media. So what I'm telling you about direct message these people, reach out and ask questions, engaging with them on social media is more likely to build trust, a connection, a relationship, and ultimately build hopefully a business relationship. But you need to connect with them personally on their social channels. So this is a really good example. Molly Rundle's an agent here. She has an amazing Instagram page. If you want to, I'll give you some examples at the end. She did a $500 Target gift card. And I'm not saying you need to do it to this scale. I've seen this work with $5 giveaways. I've seen it work with all sorts of stuff that encourages engagement. She had 471 likes, but 2,278 comments on one post for a $500 gift card. That's a lot of money, obviously, but I've seen very similar things where an agent does a story and does, guess the price of my new listing I'm about to put on the market. Here's a couple photos. Closest one to the price wins a $25 Starbucks gift card. They've gotten 400 responses just from that.
Conversion rate on that though.
What?
Not at all.
What are the stats for conversion?
Well, I would pay $25 for 400 people that are potentially interested in the price of a house, right? In the real estate market. I think that's pretty good. So anything you can, even if it's not a giveaway, anything to encourage engagement is really what you're looking for, especially with millennials. Be authentic and personal. They can read right through the BS, like I talked about. They don't want to be sold to. So talk to them as if you're talking to them in person. It's going to sound silly when I read you some of these, but this is how millennials speak. So this is how they want to connect with you. This is a top producing agent. She's was I think 30 under 30 nationally, or in the running, and 40 under 40 definitely here in the Southeast Valley. Actually, she's in Central Phoenix, I think now. But she wrote, Phoenix peeps, want to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 this weekend for free? Momentum Real Estate Group has a private screening Sunday at 3 p.m. We've got about 20 extra seats. PM me if you want to come and haven't RSVP'd yet. I'll get you the deets and your name on the list. Come one, come all, or until max capacity as per the fire marshal. So it's like, that's not how I wouldn't say I'll send you the deets necessarily, but that's how she speaks. So that post is very authentic to her, and it connects with her audience because that's exactly how she would talk to them in person. Same thing with Templeton Walker. He was a 30 under 30. So he's shirtless by the pool in this video. This is his 2-year-old, and he wrote, learn some shit about real estate in less than 60 seconds, episode 5. We're poolside talking about closing costs. Right? So again, that's not maybe how I would present myself, but that worked for him. That was authentic to him, and people connect with you if you're more authentic to who you are. So don't worry about your post sounding perfect or being perfect verbiage. It's more about being real than ever, I think. Another thing millennials love is they want to see themselves in the media that they consume. And we already talked about the importance of tagging them in your posts and stories as you're taking them along the home buying or selling journey. It's very important, but here's some good examples of that. Make them be the star. Make them tell the story of them in your posts rather than the money that they made you or the transaction that you closed. It's about the journey. So, and again, in your voice. So this was Bryce and Stephanie. Now here's a great start to the holiday. Peter just closed on his first home today. Yay, Peter! We're so excited for this guy and his cute little puppy dog, and we're so very grateful to have been able to help him find his perfect Tempe home. So again, I can hear her go, yay, Peter, in her voice, because I know her. So, that's how people build trust with you and relevancy. Same thing. So make them the star of your posts. Instagram-worthy brand, I already talked about that. If you are going to be marketing on social media, they're going to check your pages out. And they want brand education via social media. So they want to engage with authentic brand messages, so you have to represent yourself as who you are authentically, right? If you're not the top producing real estate agent in town, don't represent yourself as so. They probably won't care about that anyway. It's more about being who you are and how you're going to help them. You want to help them better understand their challenges, and with that meaning in the housing market. So give them real, relevant data that they care about, and solutions, right? And then they want to know who you are and what you stand for. So make those type of messages convey for your marketing as well.
What do you think about double covering stories and posts?
Oh, absolutely. I think you should do a combination of both. Yeah, I think ideally that's the strategy you would want to use.
But your buyer story that they're giving, he bought us our home and it was great.
Yeah.
You can duplicate them.
Absolutely. Yeah, you sure can.
Thank you.
You can definitely repurpose content is what I call that. I think I would maybe space out the time frame. I wouldn't do them on the same day necessarily of the same type of content, but yes, you can
maybe a lag on the post because the story fades.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's some examples of millennials who are killing it on the marketing side right now. They have all built very successful real estate businesses here in town, mostly on social media. If you're interested, they can give you some really good inspiration on things that have worked to post if you follow them. Molly Wendell, she was the one I mentioned. She has 10,000 followers now organically through her stuff. She does a lot of design, but it's a lot about pretty photos. But you'll notice if you follow her, she talks a lot about the home buying, selling, renovation process through her posts and stories. It's about storytelling and wins and people.
But that's a key with Instagram though. Like Facebook, you can go reach out to people. With Instagram, they have to follow you. So is the key to follow people in hopes they follow you back?
Yeah, I would try to engage with them first. So that's what I said. If you are going to follow somebody and you like some content that they posted, or you see that they go to a bunch of local restaurants, DM them with a follow request and say, hey, I love your content. I saw that you go to a lot of Central Phoenix places. What's your favorite one that I can go to, or whatever. Like, try to start dialogue with them in a real authentic way. I mean, hopefully the follow for follow will work, but not always. Yeah. But these are all ones I'd say that have done very well with telling an authentic brand story of who they are and why it's relevant to real estate. And they do a really good job of attracting clients that fit their ideal demographic of buyers. So I think those are ones that are helpful to follow. Another thing we talked about is how much testimonials and referrals are very important for millennials. So 88% of millennials trust customer reviews as much as personal referrals. That's the whole Amazon thing that we were talking about earlier. So if they see that you have a bunch of 5-star reviews on your Google business page, that is almost as good as their friend saying you should use this agent. So it's very important to make sure that you do have reviews easily accessible for them to find. The platform that I would encourage right now is Google, having a Google business page. It's free to set up. Google's the #1, most widely used search engine in the United States. It is not pay to play, at least as of yet, like the other platforms, meaning Zillow, Realtor.com, Yelp, that are all pay to play, meaning they're going to put the agents who spend money for advertising higher than you in the searches. But Google Business allows it. Have you guys seen it when it pops up on the right-hand side, the box on the Google search? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So register yourself as a business on Google. Have your clients review you there. It's very easy for them to do so. That would be my #1 idea. The #2 I would say is you could do Zillow, Realtor.com. I really wouldn't spend too much time or money promoting those myself. But what's even better though is if they leave you a testimonial on social media and tag you and tag the vendors. This one was amazing. So it was a client who tagged her agent and 6 other people, and she said, Kyle, Aiden, Abby, and I have an announcement. We bought our first home this week, and we can't wait to start making amazing memories here. Thank you to everyone who supported us along the way. I'm sure we were not easy to deal with and a nervous wreck. A special thanks to, and she tagged her realtor, she tagged her lender, and she tagged lawyer's title. Without all of you, our home dreams wouldn't be possible, so thank you. So that is gold right there. So not only is she sharing this amazing experience she had, she's publicly thanking all of her vendors and tagging them. So what's a way that you can encourage your clients to do this for you? Ask, but if you've
Tag them.
post and tag them through the home buying journey, they're a lot more likely to then post and tag you once you've done a great job for them and the deal's over, right?
So go back one.
Yeah, I'm really running out of time here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This one on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on Instagram? Is that the house or is that the person?
So this was specifically Facebook. That's a Facebook post, and that's a house with a long copy. On Instagram, it would probably be a picture more of them, their family, in front of the house would be what I would say would be a stronger post on Instagram.
On Instagram, are you putting it on the house icon or under the person icon, the one that doesn't go away?
So neither. When you post on Instagram, you use the plus in the middle.
Plus.
Yeah. Also, video. So millennials love video. They're the heaviest viewers of all types of video content by far. So movies, TV shows, music videos, personal videos, web videos, and user-generated content. So #1 that they watch, according to this, is TV shows, so like Netflix. #2 is user-generated content, which is videos that we or all of their friends and followers post to social media. #2. So that's pretty strong. So you need to make sure you're using video in your marketing, as we talked about earlier. They watch an average of 6 hours of content per day.
Holy crap.
And we talked about that earlier with social media. So between Netflix, between videos that they see on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, an average of 6 hours a day.
That's more than their average 35 on the
yeah, well, it's
social.
combined. It's combined usually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the #1 thing though that they like right now is lifestyle type videos. So this is where you can leverage business owners in a community. Take a video, interview a coffee shop owner, a restaurant owner, a hair salon owner, and tell them what it's like to live in that neighborhood, right? Okay, today we're in McCormick Branch. We're interviewing the owner of Altitude Coffee Shop. It's one of my favorite spots to come in and have a cup of coffee in the morning. These can really grow an audience fast, especially if the owner shares, retags, all that kind of stuff. There's an agent, Anthem, who's been doing this, and I mean, the minimum views he got was 2,200 on one of his business owner videos. So that's a really strong tactic to use to create videos that are relevant to millennials. But again, if they are salesy at all, you are going to lose them. So it has to be about education, entertainment, lifestyle, more so than selling. Now some stats. 4 in 5 millennials find video helpful during initial research for a purchasing decision. It's pretty strong, 80%. 74% of millennials find video helpful when comparison shopping. 6 in 10 millennials prefer to watch a company video than to read a newsletter. What does that tell you about your email marketing?
It's not gonna work.
Include video in your email marketing. A lot of top agents in the Valley have, instead of a newsletter about market stats like they used to send, now do it in a video format, and it works much better. Nearly half of millennials only watch videos on their mobile device. So what does that tell you about the orientation of the videos? They need to be like this.
Oh.
Because this is how they're watching them on their screen. So set up a tripod or whatever, but it needs to be vertical, not horizontal, because that's how they're watching them. Depending on the platform. YouTube, if primarily posting on YouTube, it should be horizontal, obviously. And 84% of millennials follow brands with videos. One thing to touch on before we wrap up here for questions is, as we talked about, a lot of millennials, 25%, say that they have over $100,000 saved, which was shocking to me when I read that too. But for the other 75%, down payment could be a challenge for them to get into a house. Make sure that you're well versed in down payment assistance programs as well. There are a lot of great ones out there that enable people to get into a home for as little as inspection and appraisal costs. Depending on seller concessions, but there are lots of great ones out there. Was a terrible stigma for a long time that down payment assistance programs is only for low income. That's not true. The income caveats, you can make up to $105,000 and still take advantage of a down payment assistance program. So make sure that you're working with a lender that understands those programs, has them available for millennials, and is able to talk to them and not discourage them on those. A lot of lenders don't like to do that, to be honest, but we love them. We do a lot of them. It allows millennials maybe to keep cash in the bank for other investment opportunities that they want to do. So that, I'd say, is something to really keep in mind. So I have little flyers about DPA programs that are available in Arizona and the caveats for you guys. If you'd like one with contact information, I'll pass those around. And then, as I mentioned, do you guys remember what % of millennials found their home on an app? From the beginning, what stat?
780.
So again, if you don't have a mobile app to offer people a great way to search for free, easy, I would get one. Here's an option that we have for you. If you're interested in it, send me an email. But mobile home search apps are very, very important for millennials. That's where they're looking, and that's where they are finding their homes. So make sure that you have one and a place to communicate with them there. I have some resources with links to more articles on millennials. I can send you guys those, as well as that stat I mentioned earlier. But thank you all. I really appreciate it.
So those of us who are not with my home group, how do we get you to send us all that stuff that you'd send us?
You have to sign in on the sheet. Did everyone sign in for this class? Yeah, if you didn't sign in, or I won't send you anything.
So you'll go off of that rather than my home group?
Yes, yeah. It's coming around right there. And I hope everyone is staying. Next is RPR with Amanda Sue Briggs in the back. It is amazing. If you're not familiar with RPR, it's the best resource I think that's available to agents for free because you already paid for it. It's incredible, so I hope you guys can stick around. She's going to start in just a couple minutes.
Surprisingly good content, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Honestly.